Hey everybody, Zach here, and it is time for the show that can only be described as a mishmash of various forms of entertainment. Sit back and relax and get ready because we are on air. What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Zach here with what is the last episode of On Air. Yes, it's true. Oh my goodness, yes. Alright, I'll have a message for you all, the viewers and the listeners, at the end of the show, but I do want to give a big thanks to station owner Donna Tuckwell for letting me hijack the 7 o'clock time slot, as well as the rest of the CKRT team who welcomed me with open arms. I will never forget this, and I will remember you all going forward. And like I said, if you're listening right now, I'll have something for you guys at the end of the show, so make sure you stick around for that. All right, on today's show, I want to start with a thinker. Would you change anything about your life? I'll wait. So I have often thought about it, and now that I'm approaching the ripe old age of 15, I thought, oh man, that sounds like a very deep-voiced 15-year-old. Yes, I do. I thought, what is one thing that I would do differently? And this is the conclusion I came up with. Not a darn thing. Look, I have suffered some mental trauma, absolutely. As my mom always says, everything happens for a reason. Now, if that didn't happen to me, I never would have found out about the CICE program at St. Clair, which means I would not have gone on to do upgrading and ending up in the journalism program, and of course, meeting the people that I did. All my life, I wanted to be a late-night talk show host, and if the pandemic had never happened, I would not be hosting Remotely Zach. Yeah. Did my journey take a long time? Absolutely. But, I mean, I met so many great people who later became good friends. Also, I wouldn't change anything that I'm doing for anything else in the world. I always wanted to be a meteorologist. That's the one thing I always wanted to be, was stand in front of the green screen, point at the weather. Then I found out I was not good in neither math nor science. So, well, there goes that idea. But anywho, I love what I'm doing, and I love who I'm doing it with. Maybe we cut that last part out. I think that would be a great idea. But yeah, moving on, I sent out the Zach signal because I wanted to hear what your guys' take was on this very topic. So let's see what y'all had to say. Margot Carter said, I would spend more time with my parents and grandparents, and I would be more involved in my kids' school experiences. Alas, too late now. Donna Holmes, no, I wouldn't change. I had a wonderful husband. I have a lovely family and my faith. What more could I ask for? Brian J.E. Pinagar said, I would have joined the Navy out of high school. In the Navy. In the Navy. Alex Cosma, I would go back 14 years and buy Bitcoin. LOL. Tammy Lynn, just the man I married. I think that one's my favorite one. Terry Fedori said, no, I would not. I am the person I am today because of my past experiences. Like my grandpa told my dad at the end of my life, I have zero regrets. May I do the same? Thank you all for chiming in. I mean, I always love hearing from the audience. That's been my favorite part about doing this whole show, is sending out these questions, you guys writing responses. I really wanted to make this show as much about you as me. So thank you all for writing in, and I will continue to do this on my late night talk show Remotely Zach, and who knows, might end up doing it here at the Mediaplex as well. So lots of questions to be asked and a lot to be answered. Despite the questions you don't want answered, we will answer them. So thank you all for taking the time to comment. It means a lot to me. You have no idea. Anyway, we're moving on to an advice column. This was written into the advice column Miss Manners, and they want to know, when hosting a cocktail hour, how does the hostess gracefully navigate the quantity of food served? For example, if the cheese platter is reduced to a few bits, should the hostess be constantly monitoring and replenishing as necessary, even if the hour is approaching or has passed? Now, first of all, it's cocktail hour, not cocktail all night. Now, in short, before I start going on a long rant, in short, if the food is getting less and less by the time the hour is getting nearer and nearer, don't fill it up. That's the time to throw everybody out of your house. Now, look, if I may offer some help, like I said, if the tray gets empty, it's time to go. Now, there are many other ways to get your guests to leave once the tray starts getting empty. One is, well, oh, it's that beginning to be that time again there. Oh, look, the platter is, oh, it's done. Oh my God. Now have safe travels now. Whoosh. Another one of my favorites is when you hear this on the speakers.
Closing time. Open all the doors.
OMG, my favorite song. Well, y'all drive safely now. Oh man. And the third, when no one's looking, just toss the cheese in the garbage and be like, oh, would you look at that? The food's gone. Oh my God. Oh, well, have a good night now. And this last one I call the Joy Behar method. Just go to bed. They'll let themselves out eventually. I hope that helps. I hope that helps, really. Well, put those tissues down. There's still a lot more on air to go. Tonight, I have This Week in Weather History, a look at one of Canada's most historic towns, and a look at what should be taught in schools. We cap it off with the weirdest news found on the internet. Stay right where you are because we are on air. Before I continue, I have a few announcements, and one of them is a birthday announcement for someone special in my life. It is my dad, Tom's birthday yesterday. So by the time this airs, it will be a happy belated birthday. So again, special happy birthday to my dad. I mean, honestly, I am proud to be your son and never wanted anything better. The next is my YouTube channel, Zachattackproductions. So if you could do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. As you know, we are a growing YouTube channel with almost 330 subscribers, and I want that count to go up. So if you could please hit the red button, please do so. That would be great. I keep getting asked, Zach, should you really be promoting yourself on someone else's network? Please, what's Donna going to do? Fire me? All right, weather is a funny thing. Sometimes it can be calm, and others it could be considered a harsh mistress. Just depends on the day here in Windsor, Essex, really. We've had our fair share of harsh and downright historic weather, from tornadoes to heat to floods and freezing. And we take a look at all that in a segment called This Week in Weather History. All right, I just want to take a look at some local events that have occurred on August 24th, because there's just something about that date and historic severe weather that really goes together. You know, kind of like Martin Short and Steve Martin. It just really goes together, you see. And there have been some doozies. Just last year, a line of thunderstorms crossed through the state of Michigan. The storms began in central and southwest Michigan and quickly grew into a large complex of severe storms. The storms were responsible for numerous damaging winds and tornadoes. 7 twisters touched down in the state. However, 6 were in the southeastern part of the state. Rainfall rates were intense, about 1 to 2 inches per hour, but due to the rapid movement of the complex, 45 to 60 mile per hour rainfall amounts stayed under 3 inches just about everywhere. Moving on to what I consider the too little, too late tornadoes. On August 24th, 2 tornadoes touched down in the Windsor area. 1 touched down on EC Row near Central Avenue, causing damage to nearby buildings, and this was back in 2016. It then tore through the Liberty Road area for about 8 kilometers before dissipating, causing extensive damage to an industrial park and numerous homes in the area. Fortunately, there were no fatalities and only 3 residents were sent to hospital with injuries. These storms occurred during an outbreak of tornadoes in the United States. Not only was it a regional outbreak, but it was one that caught meteorologists completely by surprise. Just a reminder that this type of weather can happen when you least expect it. Or as we like to call that, a Michigan, Southern Ontario thing. Now, let's see where else historic weather has been happening. On August 23rd, 1998, winds gusting to 65 miles per hour in and around Millbank in Grant County took the roof off a mobile home and wrapped it around a utility pole. The people inside the mobile home were uninjured. Luckily, The Summit Dairy Barn had sustained significant damage. The high winds also blew a shed and a large tennis court fence down. Several trees, along with many large tree branches, were down all over town. Strong winds were also reported in Day and Roberts counties. Winds of 60 miles per hour also downed many tree branches north of Waterton. And now moving on to the global events, and we're going all the way back to 1724. An event known as the Great Gust of 1724 occurred on this day. Almost all tobacco and much of the corn crops were destroyed by this violent tropical storm, which struck the Chesapeake Bay. Intense floods and rain and a huge gust of wind were seen on the James River. Some homes were wrecked and several vessels were driven ashore. The storm likely followed by a second hurricane just 5 days later, causing rain for many straight days that caused the Virginia floods of 1724. Bringing it back to the future now, 1933, a hurricane made landfall near Nags Head, North Carolina, and tracked up the Chesapeake Bay. The Chesapeake-Potomac hurricane moved over Norfolk, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. A 7-foot tide flooded businesses in Norfolk, Virginia, described in the American Meteorology Society's August 1933 weather review as one of the most severe storms that have ever visited the middle Atlantic coast. In 1922, while South Florida residents were preparing for Hurricane Andrew, folks in western Montana were dealing with an early season snowfall. Some snowfall amounts include 8.3 inches in Great Falls, 6.2 inches in Helena, and 5.1 inches in Cut Bank. This snowfall is the first significant snowfall on record in western Montana in August. August is not only active, but it is a downright historic month. That's this week in weather history. And thankfully, we're having beautiful weather. Thankfully. Woo! Oh my God. All right, well, we are cruising along like nobody's business. All right. CKRT is a global streaming radio station located in the town of Amherstburg. Well, I guess currently out in the town of Harrow. By the way, it was lovely seeing people, out there at the grand opening. Lovely. It was lovely to be there, be a part of it. Anywho. Now, I grew up in Amherstburg, and in this small town, you quickly learn how historic it is. And it is a community based on history. It really is. This is why I chose to not only do parts of the town of Amherstburg for my segment, Did You Know? But I chose doing the town as a whole. So, without further ado, here's the Amherstburg edition of Did You Know? It's a small, picturesque town in southwestern Ontario that offers unique architecture, a taste of history, and local shops. So, what is the history surrounding the town of Amherstburg? I'll tell you in this edition of Did You Know? The town of Amherstburg was incorporated in 1776 and is also named after General Jeffrey Amherst, who we will get to in a minute. In 1796, the British established Fort Amherstburg, and refugees laid out a town site called Malden. It was General Isaac Brock who used the fort as a base to capture Detroit during the War of 1812. However, the fort was under American occupation from 1813 to 1815. Amherstburg also has a history with the Underground Railroad, and that caused the town's African American population to increase from 800 to 2,000 residents. It is estimated that after 1850, 30 African Americans arrived in Amherstburg per day via steamboat and the Detroit River. Recently, there has been controversy surrounding the name of the town, whose founder's history involved the murder of indigenous people. Amherstburg Councilor Patricia Simone recently introduced a motion to change the meaning of the town's name to reference the origins of the name of Amherst, which means a place amongst the woods or a settlement amongst the woods, along with the root of the word burg, which is a walled or defensive settlement. The more you know. For Mediaplex News, I'm Zachary Balogh. As you know by now, I always do my homework, and that could be for school, or in this case, watching a whole lot of TV shows and movies. I then compile all of that into a list I like to call Zach's Watch List. Today's feature presentation is The Oranges. A man has an affair with his friend and neighbor's young daughter, which throws the family's friendships and lives into complete chaos. Well, it wasn't going to be some sort of rosy picnic now, was it? Now, moving on to my next one. This is a TV series, and it is called Mom. Mom follows Christy Plunkett, played by Anna Faris, a single mother who, after battling alcoholism and drug abuse, decides to restart her life in Napa, California, working as a waitress and attending Alcoholics Anonymous meetings. Her mother, Bonnie Plunkett, played by Allison Janney, is also a recovering addict. And also, fun fact, Allison Janney also starred in the film The Oranges as well. She is completely hilarious. She's really such an underrated actress who doesn't get the love that she deserves. She is hilarious, and oh my god. And also, Mom, I do have this on my watch list because not only is it hilarious, but because it toes the line between alcoholism, a serious topic, and making it completely hilarious. It's, obviously not alcoholism is and drug addiction is not a hilarious topic, but they make it that way on the show, and that's why it is fantastic. Anyway, my last one here truly is out of this world, the movie Alien. In deep space, the crew of the commercial starship Nostromo is awakened from their cryosleep capsules halfway through their journey home to investigate a distress call from an alien vessel. The terror begins when the crew encounters a nest of eggs inside the alien ship. An organism from inside an egg leaps out and attaches itself to one of the crew, causing him to fall in a coma. That's this edition of Zach's Watch List. I hope I inspired you to watch something new. Alright, well, it's that time for the show where I review all kinds of entertainment, new and old. Time for Zach's Views and Reviews. Well, it has been nearly a couple weeks since the cancellation of the Eras Tour in Vienna, Austria. Numerous fans wanted Taylor Swift to come out with a statement regarding the incident and why she didn't speak up soon after it happened. Now, she did release a statement the other day, and it reads, quote, "We have officially wrapped the European leg of the Eras Tour. With it came the most passionate crowds I've ever played for. New traditions in the show, and an entirely new era added in. It was a more hectic pace than we'd done before, and I'm so proud for my crew, fellow performers, for being able to physically perform that show and build our massive stage, take it apart, and make it magic with so few days in between. They're the most impressive people I know, and I'm so lucky they gave the Eras Tour their time, their energy, and their expertise. Walking on stage in London was a roller coaster of emotions. Having our Vienna shows canceled was devastating. Let me be very clear." Uh-oh. She dropped the "let me be very clear." That's for the Swifties who demanded a statement. "I am not going to speak about something publicly if I think doing so might provoke those who would want to harm the fans who come to the shows. In cases like this one, silence is actually showing restraint and waiting to express yourself at a time when it's right to do so. The energy in that stadium was like the most giant bear hug from 92,000 people each night. I can't imagine being hugged by 92,000 people. Not even really just one. No. And it brought me back to a place of carefree calm up there." Well, that's this week's Views and Reviews. Don't tell me I didn't watch anything. In our pre-weird news story, $6 million worth of meth was found in fake watermelon and celery shipments. Yes, because that's the only way you're going to get people to eat celery, apparently. And by the way, please be Florida, please be Florida, please be Florida. Officers found the questionables at the U.S.-Mexico border. Dang. The first seizure happened on the evening of August 9th when border agents at the Otay Mesa commercial facility, an inspection port just over the southern border in San Diego, found 629 pounds of methamphetamine in a grocery shipping crate filled with celery. Border Patrol said that agents discovered the narcotics while performing an inspection on a commercial tractor trailer driven by a 34-year-old man with a legitimate border crossing card who entered the U.S. from Mexico with cargo on board his truck. Less than 2 weeks after the celery seizure, agents at the same inspection facility in Otay Mesa discovered an even larger haul of methamphetamine. This time, the produce meant to conceal the drugs was fake. Traffickers have also stashed drugs inside shipments of green beans, sugar, flour, and candy. No, I mean, if they're coming in from Mexico, they should have just, used fake boobies. Nobody would know. Nobody would know. If you thought that wasn't weird enough, it's Friday, and that means it's time for the weirdest news found on the internet. Time for weird news. Hurry up and wait. Servers speed walk through Paris, reviving a century-old race. Thousands of spectators gathered to watch more than 200 servers compete in Sunday's Course des Cafés, the newly revived version of a century-old race. Waiters and waitresses traversed a 1.2-mile loop starting and ending at City Hall. Suited up in traditional crisp white shirts, black trousers, neatly tied aprons, and in some cases, bow ties. Love a nice bow tie. They each carried a tray loaded with a croissant, a full water glass, and an empty coffee cup. Judges at the finish line inspected contestants' trays, docking points for sloshed water, broken dishes, and empty glasses, according to the New York Times, which reported that most people finished in under 20 minutes. Well, now why can't they do that normally? What? That sounds like a great idea. Maybe they should do that in actual restaurants. Well, from France to Fort Lauderdale, it's time for...
Florida man, Florida man, does whatever a Florida man can. Look out, here comes the Florida man.
A 43-year-old Jordanian national living in Orlando has been arrested and charged with 4 counts of threatening to use explosives and 1 count of destruction of an energy facility, according to the U.S. Department of Justice. Hashim Hinan allegedly smashed windows at local businesses in Florida, leaving behind threatening letters about the perceived support of Israel, and broke into a solar power generation facility in Wedgefield, Florida, back in June. Hinaya allegedly spent hours smashing solar panels, cutting various wires, and destroying critical electronic equipment, according to a press release from the DOJ issued on Thursday. Violence and destruction of property to threaten and intimidate others will never be tolerated, Ray continued. The FBI and our partners will work together to pursue and hold accountable those who resort to violence. Well, that is the weirdness for this week and the show, and I just want to reach into my baggie of dad jokes. I got some here. Oh, wait, hold on. I think I got one. What do you call a T-Rex that's been in a fight? Dinosaur. That was a good one. To laugh. Oh man. And now, before I sign off here for the very last time, I just want to say something to you, my audience. I just want to say thank you for tuning in, whether it was here or on the Zachattackproductions YouTube channel. I absolutely loved, walking to the Mediaplex and recording this show to share with you all. And of course, one of the best parts was interacting with you via the social media. I wanted this show to be written not only by me, but you as well. I wanted to give y'all a hand. So if you answered the questions I posed out every week, you were just as much of a part of the show as I was. Now, as I depart the show and move on to another chapter, like the broadcasting slut that I am. Or maybe the next thing, which might, I don't know, you might be able to find me flipping burgers at the nearest Burger King. I don't know. The world is mine, apparently. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because without you, this show would not be a reality. And I want to end this just because I'm leaving. Doesn't mean that this is goodbye forever. It means so long for now. And if you all miss me, remember, I invite you to catch me on Canada's only late night talk show, Remotely Zach, which airs Friday, September 13th on the Zachattackproductions YouTube channel. So, we're going to have more fun there. It'll be fun. It'll be chaotic. So you'll also have a chance to be part of that show as well. But if not, I'll see you again someplace, sometime. And now this is part of the show where I play closing time, but I just want to say one thing. Long live.
I said, remember this moment in the back of my mind. The time we stood with our shaking hands, the crowds in stands went wild. We were the kings and the queens, and they read off our names. The night you danced like you knew our lives would never be the same. You held your head like a hero on a history book page. It was the end of a decade, but the start of an age.